time, from the media, about how we are constantly being told we are bad. You know, human beings are bad. Human beings have to be policed. Human beings, if left to their own devices, they will kill, rape, murder, do war, and so on. You know, so we have to constantly be suspicious of ourselves. Whereas a person who is in touch with themselves blossoms and is able to trust themselves. You know, so it's almost like, again, the festival is meant to I don't know if you want to say run contrary to, you know, but to actually say, who are we as people, and actually wake that up instead of constantly pushing that down.
Yeah, here's a number of things to say on that. I think one of the first things you were talking about, one of the first things that came to my mind is you want to look at some ancient texts. We take one religious book, for example, and different religious books will communicate this in a different way. But you look at one of the things that God said in the Bible, where He said, "I'm going to put out stars, and I'm going to put out the night lights into the universe." And one of the things that He said is that these things would determine the seasons and times. And one we've got lights to govern different times of day. And so right from the very beginning, you've got this relationship between humanity and the stars. We look up for direction, for the seasons and for the times. It's not the time to do this. How do we know this? By virtue of the stars that we see. Oh, it is the proper time to do this by virtue of the stars that we see. Corresponding verse with that will say, for as long as it's day, or as long as it's time of light, you will work. And when the day ends, no one will work during the night time. But my point is that for our times of the days, for our seasons, for our direction, you'll know this as well. Like as people went out and were discovering the earth around them, and they went by ship, they were guided by the stars. But what I feel is, I mean, these are all traditions of humanity. We've constantly looked to the stars. We've constantly looked toward the heavens for direction and for purpose and seasons, and like I'm saying. But you know, more and more, as humanity becomes increasingly more sophisticated, we're being taught to look amongst ourselves here. Let's not look up, because that's archaic, that's obsolete. We are the news station. We will tell you when it is the season and when it is the time to do something else. You said something about, you know, how humanity is left to our own devices, but left to our own devices, largely we've been good to each other. There's a harmony in the universe. What makes people feel like there's so much chaos is because whatever little chaos happens, it's being magnified globally. It's not a good thing. For instance, if tragedy comes to, let's say, 3 people in or some part of the world, they were shot at a mall. But by this evening, that news is magnified to make you think that there's chaos around the world because of the 3 people. But there's another 8-point-something billion people who didn't kill each other. And you've got 100 people in one country who did a lot of good for the communities around them. That never makes the news. It doesn't make the news, and it's not magnified. It's always relegated to some last part of the news where it's not primetime news. But that's my point, is that we've been taught less to look up and more to look amongst ourselves. So we're losing track of the things that give us the direction, that give us an indication of what seasons and what times we are. And it's interesting that should happen. You know, it's true about a day, but I also think that those truths are very spiritual as well. You can look up and get direction about your life. Where are you in relation to where you should be? Well, you've got something above you that can give you direction in terms of your seasons and your times.